As a servant leader, you're a servant first. You focus on the needs of others, especially team members, before you consider your own. You acknowledge other people's perspectives and give them the support they need to meet their work and personal goals. You also involve yourself in decisions that they need to make when it's appropriate, and you also need to consider building a sense of community within your team, which is what I did throughout the project for service leadership. And most of the time, what I found was it leads to a higher engagement, more trust within the team, and stronger relationships that I can say that I've made. Throughout the project, I found that it can also lead to a higher amount of innovation for the project goals that we set. So we're always bouncing ideas off of each other because we trust one another. And with trust comes, you're not afraid to get your ideas out there, to get shot down. You're always willing to throw your ideas out there, even if they don't make any sense. Maybe one idea can lead to another idea, which leads to the entire project being done. And I can say that in my group and my project that I worked on, that happened on several occasions. For instance, when for the game that we had to come up with to get the students help to get their insight on our project, we threw out 30 ideas before coming up with the basketball game. And I was so stoked for the basketball game. It sounded like such a good idea. We were running through it 4 or 5 times, and we were just hoping that we could get the insight that they could look in and get the SMART goals, and hopefully it'd all work out. Unfortunately, it didn't work out as planned, but we did get all the data that we needed to support the claims for the SMART goals for the project initiative. And another thing about service leadership is you got to remember that it focuses on other people's needs and not their feelings. So don't be afraid to make unpopular decisions or give team members negative feedback when appropriate. And the important thing is the trust. Like, when you have trust with your teammates, you're not going to feel as bad giving them the negative feedback that they need, because negative feedback will help them grow as a person and think outside the box, and it could possibly lead to greater initiatives and innovation throughout the entire project. Going over this project, some of the characteristics of servant leadership I think number one is listening, because without listening, you're not going to be able to listen to the feedback or listen to different instances where maybe another one is awareness. So being aware of how your team members feel, so you're not stepping on each other's toes. But on the flip side, since you have the trust and you're aware of what that person likes and doesn't like, and you're able to phrase things in a certain way that could help the team instead of maybe throwing off the how everyone feels about each other, I think that's huge. I think awareness is by far one of the most important factors of servant leadership, along with building a community, like building something that you would want to be a part of. And when you do that, I think it just makes you dive so much deeper into the project, on top of getting a better result when everyone's working together. So one thing that I loved about the class was the Richard Tature video, which was a TED Talk about the innovation that made peace with the lions in his community. And I think he hit every nail that was needed to be part of servant leadership. He demonstrated it to a T. And looking at that, it really gave me the insight that I needed to understand what servant leadership was and what it took to become a servant leader, and how I could turn what I learned in that video into something that I use in my daily life. And I think that one of the most important factors was the amount of time that it took. He didn't give up. He kept trying over and over again, because he realized that he wanted to solve the problem in his community that would save multiple people. So I love that video. Moving on to my client experience, it was unbelievable. I learned so much about analyzing results, to keeping up with the client and keeping communication constant so we didn't have a disconnect at all. I think that was one of the most important things that I learned, was making sure that everyone was on the same page so we weren't doing a project that he didn't want us to do, along with analyzing the results that I found from all the survey responses. I thought it was so cool to see the different ideas that the staff members had compared to the board members, and seeing what maybe fed the ideas differently and what, in their opinion, was the most beneficial program compared to the board members, and seeing like the tangible examples of the impact that certain program had was really cool to see, because everyone had different examples. For VITA, they were saying like how many people it affected, and the fire relief program, seeing how many people that affected through financial stability. It was just unbelievable to see the differences between the board members and the staff members. Just this class in general was awesome. I learned so much through communication. That was the big factor for me, was really understanding how to communicate with the client, and then the survey analysis and seeing how that took a toll into the entire project as well. So just wanted to say thank you for everything I learned in this class, Amy. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great summer.